Hey guys, welcome back to another one. This video we're going to talk about Theta. We're going to laser focus in on the virtual reality and some updates from some of the enterprise validator nodes, including Sony, Google, Samsung, and then actually, even though they're not a validator node, but Facebook has a surprising help with some of the virtual reality in the future. We'll get into the white paper and look into it, why this is important in the future, even though they're heavy on the NFT game right now. We'll dig into it. So if you're interested in this content, please like and subscribe to the channel. It means a bunch. All right, so let's get directly into this. Why is Google in the news? So Google Stadia is working on VR support, ? And as we know, Google is one of the enterprise validators. So what's happening in the news? So Google Stadia, it originally was released in 2019. Apparently it hasn't been doing too good. I personally don't have any say in this one. I haven't used it, but there's a lot of setbacks apparently with a lack of interest. But nonetheless, they're going to continue with a lot of titles, and they're looking for hiring new positions. So that just means that even though they don't have a lot of interest right now, they are going to continue down the path. And another person who is directly related with Theta, Samsung, is revving up their VR and AR operations as well. And as we know, Samsung, once again, is a enterprise validator associated with Theta. And what they are trying to do is essentially they're just trying to get more direct to consumer instead of having to work through a third party. So instead of Samsung Best Buy Consumer, they're trying to work with just Samsung direct to you. And the company plans to have digital innovation products for both channels that integrates immersive experiences such as AR, VR, and personalization between its retail and e-commerce systems. So they're once again bolstering up their virtual reality staffing and just jobs in the future as well. And then another one championship, once again, another partnership. I don't have it pulled up, but with the latest Theta drop, the one championship, they were one of the latest and greatest for the Theta drop. So what these guys are doing, and this is news that came out last year, but I'm just tying it all in. Essentially, they announced a global partnership with Facebook. And like I said, Facebook isn't directly a partner, but in the future, they definitely could be. So it's a gaming channel where one's top athletes will stream gameplay and gaming commentary, and the addition of one virtual reality content to venues. It's on the Oculus platform, but if there is a tie between, one championship and Facebook, Theta necessarily is not a competitor to Facebook. If anything, they augment each other, they help each other out, because Theta will help supply, bandwidth at a cheaper cost. And, if these large companies don't want to foot the bandwidth bill, and we'll check it out here in a second, why, VR and AR hasn't necessarily taken off, because it is expensive. And then one last little tie is, once again, Facebook's new bet on virtual reality, the conference rooms. And this kind of, came up because of COVID. And they think that, in the coming years, especially if another pandemic were to happen, that, virtual reality is going to continue to take off. So right now, it's held back because no one wants to wear those goofy headsets. They're heavy. And just sitting in a virtual office, potentially with hours wearing a headset, probably isn't the most ideal thing. But, things started to change last year when everyone started, living digitally, and VR headsets did actually, take off a little bit, which helped the momentum for Facebook and the other companies. But the one quote that Mark Zuckerberg does say is, one way or another, I think we're going to live in a mixed reality future. So he, even in this article, does say it's taken a bit longer than he has thought in order to get to, the virtual / mixed reality place. But in the future, this is what he's envisioning. Everyone's kind of maybe at home, working from home, but they're in a mixed reality conference room. And if that is the case, then yes, Theta would definitely help out with that, because of some of the bandwidth costs in particular, and some of the patents that they do have. And this is, Theta's 2.0 white paper, so from a while ago, but it still stands true today. And it's pretty funny to look at the numbers and the growth. I couldn't find an update to this exact chart, but essentially virtual reality is still, quadrupling. It is still increasing heavily. And this is one of their, cornerstone just visions, was to help with the content delivery network. So before the NFTs, the last mile problem is what they were looking at, particularly for virtual reality, is what they have in their white paper. Why is that the case? Because if we look at, 1080p, like I made a video not too long ago, this is, the bandwidth cost, or how much bandwidth it does take. And if 720 is the magnitude baseline, then 4K is 6 times as much as 720p. And then when we start getting into virtual reality, it's 25 times more intensive than 720p. And then the 16K 360 VR is 100 times more intensive than 720p, or 50 times more intensive than 1080p, as a good baseline for 2021. That is why Theta is definitely important, because these companies, your Facebook, your Google, Samsung, they don't want to foot the bill for something that is this bandwidth intensive, because it is expensive. That, and Theta does have a couple patents. I won't go through them word for word, but essentially Theta has been able to come up with technology so that no matter where you're looking in the virtual reality world, they've come up with a formula to kind of, take down the cost of the bandwidth. So the things that are right in front of you, those are going to be high quality, high definition. But if it's, a 360 VR, the things behind you, they, you could notch that down. It doesn't have to be 1080p back there. It could be like the 480 or a lower quality, and that definitely helps. And that is, the bread and butter with these 3 patents of Theta from the mainnet 2.0. And then just looking at some data, the VR market in 2021, it is 4.8 billion. And then just looking at the potential growth, this article says the compound annual growth rate for VR between 2020 and 2025, it's 30%. And we'll check out another one. This one is saying 27.9%, so very close. And essentially the virtual reality market is expected to be valued at 20.9 billion in 2025, with a compound annual growth rate of 27.9% during that period. So there is a lot of continuous growth with virtual reality. And then the last one, this one was the most aggressive for sure. They're thinking a compound annual growth rate of 46% between that same time range, 2021 actually, and 2025. So this one's a little bit newer, and the growth for 2021 itself was 25%. That is why Theta, just going back to its bread and butter, is still focusing on virtual reality, because its partners, it's taken a little bit longer for Google and for Samsung and One Championship and Facebook. All of these companies, they still have virtual reality on the back of their mind, but it's taking just a little bit longer for them to roll it out. But Theta is still in the forefront with the cutting edge technology to help out whenever virtual reality becomes more mainstream. If you guys like this content, make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you on the next one.